Welcome to Melted. This is Frankie Melted Chapsticks Hollywood. On Wednesday night on Boston Free Radio, we are sponsored by Carlino Guitars. You can go over and see Eddie. Eddie makes custom guitars and straps. He is at 135 Mystic Ave in Medford. He made a really nice rhinestone guitar for me, as well as I've purchased other guitars and straps. He gives you everything a band needs, including the t-shirts and picks. Joe Filoni is giving lessons there. He's fantastic. And tonight we have Jeremy Asbrock with us from the Talisman, the Gene Simmons Band, Ace Frehley Band. He is an amazing guitarist and a beautiful human being. And on the line live, Jeremy Asbrock. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
You know what? No complaints in the midst of it all.
Too.
We got plenty of cold weather up here. We'd like you to send some of your weather our way.
Yeah, it's not really that cold today. I'm actually sitting on my back porch. It is a bit rainy, but it's not freezing today. So I come to my porch to do interviews and stuff because this is where I get peace.
No, and that's not really a bad place to hang out. I'll be down there shortly. I saw a nice interview done by one of your bandmates from Minefield, Todd Dammit Kearns, and you were sitting out in the backyard just relaxing, and it looked really cool.
Yeah.
And great interview as well. Now you were born.
Good thing it wasn't raining that day.
I know your backyard stretches for quite a ways, and just relaxing.
Well, like I said, I'm not just doing that for effect. I have two children, one 5-year-old and one 4-month-old, and my house is kind of small, and so there's no way an interview is getting done in the house.
No doubt. I mean, I have a cat that knocks over this stuff, and I thought that was rough. But wait till you have children. And you were born in Murfreesboro, raised in Smyrna, moved to Nashville. And I just had a question for you. Have you heard the song Nashville Sneaker? And what does it mean?
Who sings that song?
The Guess Who?
Guess Who? Man, I know a lot of their music, but I guess I don't know that song.
Yeah, well, that's why I was just curious about it, because I don't tell anybody. I listen to the oldies once in a while. So I heard that song and I said, let me ask Jeremy.
I'm going to check that out as soon as we wrap this up. We're big Guess Who fans here. We listen to them a lot. So
yeah, good stuff. Check that out.
Check it out.
And then let me know. As far as the football is concerned, we know your mate Ryan is pulling for KC. Do you follow football?
I don't really follow football. I want the Titans to win because that's our team here, and the city's in a good mood when the team's winning. But I am with Ryan on the KC thing. I want Ryan to have his Super Bowl win, so
keep it in KC. The band.
Yeah,
I talked to Phil, and he was pulling for Green Bay, of course, but it looks like if it happens, my family has season tickets to the Patriots, so we're kind of pulling. My dad's also a police officer, was in Tampa, so he's excited. So yeah, it's just, whatever keeps people happy and going is good stuff. So I was going to ask you about Minefield, and I saw the interview with Todd, and it was excellent. Matt Starr, Brandon Fields. Tell me about the project. I saw 2 songs on Spotify, which is Alone Together and Home. Are you releasing more? What's going on with that?
Yes, there's actually a full-length album that's coming out next month. Todd sang the bulk of it. There's a song that Brandon sings. There's a song that I sing. There's a song that a fellow named Eric Jake from the band, Eric Jake. Anyway, so yes, there's a full length, and it's kind of interesting the way it all came together. It was not originally planned to be anything like this. It actually goes back to 2009 when I met Brandon, and he was 13 years old. I played in a band called the Shazam for 15 years, and we were doing a show in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which is where I guess he's from, and him and his friend showed up to our load-in and helped us load in all of our stuff. And, I let him check out my guitars through many social media platforms, MySpace, through Facebook, he just always kind of kept in touch with me. Followed the path, did the deal, he's been in bands and, toured regionally and opened for nationals and still pretty young, carving his path. And asked me to play a solo on his solo album that he was trying to put together and come out with. And I said, okay. And then that turned into 2 songs. And then he wanted to reach out to Matt to play on those. And, I just, hey man, just send him a message. We're all at home right now, and he did. And then he wanted to approach Todd. So I sent Todd a message and told him to check it out. Matt was involved. I was involved. And then they went from there, and they kind of wrote all the songs together, most of them anyway. Then he asked me to write a song, so he gave me a riff, and I wrote a whole song around that and enlisted Alex Kane to help me with some verse lyrics. I recommended Anthony Fox to mix the things. That happened. So it was a real interesting way to make a record. Everybody cut their parts at home, which meant that everybody was kind of their own producer. And then it winds up in one place, and then the mix engineer takes that and polishes and shines the sound, and there you have it.
How did you enjoy that experience, it being different than being together with the band?
Well, man, honestly, I was so deprived of music at that point. I loved it. Well, I like recording anyway, and, anymore, there's not like a singular recording experience. There are many different ways to do it, and we've all done it those different ways. I like them all, and the ability to sit in my kitchen in my pajamas, cut as much or as little as I wanted to, and kind of getting to make up all my parts, so it's very creative too. I loved it. It was great. And I'm also technically in a band with Todd Kearns.
No, it's good stuff. It's something that everybody's had to deal with. Talking to family members, working from home is the thing now because of what's going on. Let alone touring aspect. Will that come later for this band as well?
I have no idea. I would like to think at some point we will get to play some shows together, but there's not really any plans because nobody really knows what's going on.
Right. Takes time, and a lot of Zen and Buddhism has helped me.
Yeah.
As far as your relationship with Eddie Carlino of Carlino Guitars, how did that come about?
I believe Ryan was the first person to work with Eddie, and we also noticed Ryan's fantastic straps. And then this was early in the Gene Simmons gig, so Phil had started working with him also. So they both had one, and they both had these awesome straps. I'm like, why? I guess I have to have one too then, huh? And I will say, we've had this discussion privately, and it's not just ass kissing. They are absolutely the most comfortable straps I've ever put on my shoulder. They are worth it.
And the birds singing in the background, so that's a fact.
Told you I was outside. Can you hear the rain dripping also?
Yes, I said, is it a rain machine? This guy has it also.
No, it's a dreary, rainy day here in Nashville.
Yeah. What about as far as with your acoustic gigs as well with the Talisman? Have you been able to do many of them? I know that Ryan, did y'all go to KC for a show in December?
We did. I believe that was in November. We played Kansas City, and then we played Ardmore, Oklahoma. And honestly, man, the shows went well. Everybody was cool in the audience. People wore their masks. They weren't super, super packed, so everybody could kind of keep their distance. I thought as far as playing a safe type show, those shows went pretty well. There was a couple, I won't name names, that might have been, I don't know, maybe a little more than we had imagined. Everything still went okay, and nobody got sick. You still kind of feel weird going out, like you're being naughty, and then, I don't know, you just do it as safely as you can.
No, that's all you can do. So how many shows did you have with the Acoustic?
Let's see. The Acoustic, we did Kansas City and Ardmore. We did Decatur, Georgia, and a town outside of Raleigh whose name is slipping my mind. We did a bunch here. We do a house party here pretty consistently, and those are okay. I always feel good about those. And I'm going to say, I know I'm forgetting some, but I'm going to say like 8 or 9.
And speaking of safe shows, and what I loved in the background of the Kiss Masquerade was Gene's character with a mask on stage. And
Yeah.
what a busy weekend. Can you tell me about that? I saw an interview with Neil Davis.
Yes. Yeah, man, that was an action-packed weekend. So first of all, just to stay on the safe show thing, everybody, band, staff, everybody was rapid tested daily. That was very cool. Everybody could kind of relax. I know that the capacity, I believe, was 1,000 people, and they sold 125 tickets. They had pods, which were really just taped off rectangles for 4 people who all had to be together. They had to stay in that rectangle, and then those rectangles were 6 to 8 feet apart from each other. So everything was spaced. Like, man, the links that they went to make that a safe show was astounding. I was very impressed and felt comfortable the whole time. So there were other bands. There was a Kiss tribute band. There was a Led Zeppelin tribute band. And then we, the Talisman, played electrically the first night, and we played with the drummer from Neil's Kiss tribute band. We played an electric set. I believe the first night was of just random Kiss classics. And then Jean Bevois came out and did some Kiss songs with us. And we did a song from his band, Crown of Thorns.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
that was cool.
Let's see, I believe that was the first night. And then the second night, I actually wound up playing with Enough's Enough. I played their set. Alex Kane plays with them. He has been taking care of his mother, who is a little older, so he opted to maybe not chance coming and doing an event. And then they have another person that fills in for him, and he felt sick, so he didn't come. I'm good for their first 3 albums. You know, Enough's Enough was the band that made me like the Beatles when I was 14 years old. So I jumped in, and that was kind of fun. And then we did Rock and Roll Over with the Talisman. Electrically. I feel like I forgot something. I did. We did an acoustic set somewhere in one of those nights. I can't remember if it was Friday or Saturday though. It was Friday. That was what opened the whole thing, was a Talisman acoustic set.
Nice.
And that was just a grab bag set.
And then Hey Sloopy.
Yes. And then that was the last night. We did Rock and Roll Over, and then Rick Derringer came out and did Hang On Sloopy and Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, and I feel like there's one more. Sorry, man.
No worries. it's good stuff.
Yeah, man. I just got done with virtual school, and my brain's kind of fried right now. You know, I have to sit with my son in virtual kindergarten, and that literally just wrapped up. So,
well,
I feel like I just got out of school too.
Well, luckily you weren't with me in the basement doing blues riffs. You know, that's what I was just doing. I started playing guitar later in life. A whole lot of fun in a band and
blues riffs sounds like so much more fun than virtual kindergarten. So
well, I
envy you.
Well, the thing is my mom is so kind. She's like, Frankie, when are you going to go back and just play the guitar? And I'm like, why, Mom? Well, you can't sing. They're always encouraging. Now, you think about it, the NBA, the NHL, the different sports, the Super Bowl this weekend, 25,000 people. Everybody's doing it to scale. So it was really nice to hear with the Masquerade show that you were able to do that. It wasn't a super spreader event. It was just real cool.
No, and man, I have not heard of anybody having gotten sick from that event either.
Nice. On the website with Masquerade 2020, have all those packages been sold, etc.?
Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah. And I got some pick packs from you as well. The audience should.
Right.
Where could they get pick packs from you?
You know, I'm not really sure what's left, but the Talisman Band at Gmail, or honestly, man, anybody can contact any one of us through Facebook Messenger or whatever. We'll if you want one, contact one of us.
Awesome.
We'll get the message.
That's sweet. I wanted to talk about as well, you know, with your family, your beautiful wife, Hannah Fairlight, just put out an album, Muscle and Skin. Yep. Did you work on that as well? And I've seen her also playing at the Residency, pregnant, singing her heart out. It's like amazing. Your family does not fool around.
We made it to 38 weeks on stage.
Wow.
And she literally gave birth the next week. I don't know. We were just testing it to see how far we could do it.
Awesome.
That was the first child too, man. I don't know. It's a little different on the second one. But anyway, to answer your earlier question, no, I did not play any on that. That was kind of her thing. The only thing I did was watch our kid while she did the work.
Awesome. That's family cooperation and good stuff, really. As far as, you've done work with Kiss, Ace, Gene. What is your favorite Ace solo to play? And I'm sure there's a few.
My favorite Ace solo to play. Well, I know what my favorite one to play is, and I never really had the opportunity to play it with Gene because it's not a Gene song.
Right.
But if you're kind of asking me what my favorite Ace solo is, it would probably 100,000 years great solo.
Yeah, awesome. And I know you were influenced as a child, and I've heard your story about buying the records, etc., and they've affected all of our lives. I mean, I actually put a poster up, a Destroyer poster, which my dad ripped off the wall in front of me. Family supportive with you and your music?
Yes, extremely. Like, as much as a family could be supportive. They were the ones that allowed me to go down the path at such an early age, and bought a guitar for me at an early age, and enrolled in guitar lessons, and let me watch TV, and let me go to concerts. I mean, I couldn't ask for any more support. No, except I really would have liked to have gone to see Ozzy and Motley Crue in 1984 back, and also see why they wouldn't let their 9-year-olds go to that show.
I got to see Creatures of the Night with Motley Crue and Kiss. My uncle took me on Easter Sunday, so he was totally supportive.
Wow.
Parents not so much, but
that was a Kiss on the Creatures tour was my first concert, and Night Ranger opened here.
Oh, really? Awesome.
Yeah, and see, the thing is the reason I can elaborate on them being supportive is that I didn't know bands toured. I didn't even know what that was. And then Mom tells me, hey, so we got tickets to go see Kiss in concert. And I'm just like, I always thought you had to go to New York City to see Kiss because,
right.
All the records, it was just like New York, New York, New York this and New York that. And I knew they were a New York band. So I didn't know they traveled around and played lots of cities. So, wow, that was my entry into learning what touring was and concerts and stuff.
Yeah, and you have quite an experience, traveling. Was Gene and Ace's band like the biggest tours? Or I know with Shazam, how big did that get for you?
It was pretty small here. We played everything from really dumpy clubs to, some cool clubs on national tours. In England for 1 year, it got pretty big. I mean, we got to play one arena, but we also got to play a TV radio broadcast from Abbey Road with,
wow,
top shelf billing. I'd say Gene's probably the biggest thing I've done, because, some of the accommodations we got to experience traveling with him overseas was, the same thing he's doing. So I don't think any of us had got to travel in style quite like that. I'm not going to speak for the other guys, but I'm still pretty sure as far as, how the fame level of the artists that we're playing with, Gene's probably the biggest for all of us.
And with that, how does that compare? Arena show with Shazam, one of the biggest crowds then? Or was it with Gene in Asia?
Oh, no, absolutely with Gene. Gene's like the biggest crowds I've ever gotten to play.
Any sort of weird malfunctions on stage?
Yeah, I can remember a couple times my guitar cutting out and trying to figure that out.
You're like...
nothing too bad, though.
Yeah, thankfully, right? Well, I think about, I don't know if there was a story of Ace not being able to get back up because of those boots. It's like, for me going through it, just dressing up and getting glammed out and having other good people around, standing in those boots for even an hour is a lot. And
yeah.
did you have to, with that weekend at Masquerade even, it seemed like you were playing, and I know it goes from feast to famine to feast, so you probably didn't mind. But was it painful being up there for so long?
I'm not going to lie. Yes, it was a little bit. Because, you're right. It was feast of famine to go from hardly playing, and we literally landed and went to a rehearsal that day because we were using a different drummer. So we went to rehearse with him. And And then the next day it all started, you know, an acoustic show, an electric show, and then the next day, and also we also rehearsed with Jean and Rick Derringer that day too. So it was another rehearsal the next day, and actually two rehearsals if you count both of them, and then two shows that day, and then I played with Enough's Enough the next day, and then our show, and we did a Q&A thing with Eddie Trunk and Chips Enough and Rick Derringer also. Ryan and I did, so it was just a lot going on. So yeah, when I got home, man, I was tired.
Well, I've been 28 for decades now, and I just turned 28 again, but I know it's like, you know, it's something else, and it's good to hear your experience, to let people know what it's like. It is glamorous. There's a lot to it. I like how Phil had said about the old boy bands where it's just one crew, where nowadays it just seems like you're able to play with Minefield, play with Gene, play with Ace, do your thing, be creative.
Sure.
It seems awesome.
And you know, there's room for more.
Yes.
Sure.
You get a chance to see Kiss End of the Road show in Dubai. Did you get a chance to see that?
Man, I've seen some clips, but I've kind of been so busy, like through Christmas and New Year's, and then back into virtual school that, you know, man, this whole COVID experience is a little different for parents, man. Like, because you're trapped in the submarine with your kids because they can't go to school and they can't really go hang out with their friends and stuff. So they kind of just wind up taking over your environment.
True.
So yeah, I did get to see a few clips, but I have not got to sit and watch the show.
No, I hear you. I have 3 beautiful sisters, lots of nieces and nephews, and what I've learned is if women had teenagers as children, you would only have one child because they would show up, give me all your money, give me the car keys, and some of them even tell you to F off. So it's like, do I want to have another? I guess, and then they get tricked into having other ones. So, they're just so little and cute. Just wait. But yeah, so I listen to their stories too. Thankfully, I just have a cat, so we just keep that going. A few years ago, and I have been sober for 10 years, so I thought it was a good idea to go out and got some late night food. I got sick, went to the hospital. They said, you have food poisoning. And then it turned into 4 days of night sweats. So I went back, and they said, Frankie, you have a hole in your intestine. You're dying. And I said, okay. So emergency surgery, 4 months in the hospital, finally walk out. I had, a ton of support, and I'm grateful. And I know that you shared, a similar thing in your life. And they had a fundraiser for you. What was it like to have all that support and people backing you in the midst of, a crisis?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I still can't even really put it into words. It made me realize that, because the thing you have to think about is in that audience, there are so many different types of people. And, this thing happened to me sort of in the middle of, a thing going on with people and their differences, that I realized that, man, all these people are the same. All these people that are think they're different, they're really the same. They're all just people who care and want to help people and do good things. And that's what most people are.
Right.
Most people.
Right.
And it made me realize that. On one hand, still, I don't know, kind of going through a weird psychological thing with it, because it's a lot of attention that you don't really want,
Right.
like, because, I you really appreciate people being concerned and, the nice things they say to you, but then you just wind up talking about it all the time, and it starts to bring you down a little bit. I had to get over that. But I did, and then it made me kind of want to talk about diabetes a lot more. And, the thing that I used to check my blood sugar, I used to kind of hide it, and now I leave it open where you can see it because I want to talk about it.
Right. It's a lot of stuff that's unexpected, especially at your age, and when these things show up, it's life on life's terms, and For me, not having alcohol in my life, which I have long enough here to turn water into wine, and I can be around it and people do it, and I encourage people to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the fact that you realize, whether it's the pandemic, something happens to a close family member, I can't control people, places, or things. It's how I react to it. And I'm sure with my band, your bands, we go to Led Zeppelin, it's a bunch of people that you're not married to, and different things come up and you have to try to work them out. So in the end, with a lot of forgiveness, deep breaths, and then you make your own decisions. But I think a lot of it is in your mind and staying positive. You realize how much people care about you. So I think that's cool.
And beyond them, just, what absolutely amazing friends I have. I mean, my friends put it together. I mean, Phil and Ryan and our friend Brandy Goldsboro, and then, everybody rallied around that. They did it. And then you get to see the outpouring of love from the people. Yeah, man, it was heavy. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I'm very, 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 very grateful.
Yeah, it's an attitude of gratitude that helps me. Health is wealth, and you understand that you draw on different things, help you get through it. It's really cool. The other thing is, too, I thought of you folks because I was able to interview Ryan. Great interview. Super guy. Had Phil, and then he was going to Mexico, and then the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
So, with that, it's pretty much, you still seem to be busy, doing stuff virtually and doing your music, correct?
Yeah, I mean, we do our best. I wouldn't say busy, but we stay, kind of busy.
I mean, we wish it could be more. I just, another thing out of my control, because it is weird, being out and doing things, and then, here we are, kind of what we do with our time in the midst of it all. You also had a tornado, and then the bombing. How did that affect your family? It's like, what the hell?
The tornado definitely did. It affected the city big time. And, that was supposed to be the last big show that we were all going to do. We had a great show lined up, lots and lots of guests, and had lots of great donations to raffle off. And, we were going to, it was going to be really, really awesome. And then the pandemic hit the next week and everybody started canceling shows. So it didn't get to happen. The bombing, I haven't really been downtown. I know that 2nd Avenue, which is one of the main strips of, bars and businesses and stuff, is in such bad shape that it's still blocked off. And I know those buildings are damaged really, really, really badly. My wife heard it. She said she heard it that morning. I live about 7 minutes from downtown. You can't see it. So, I mean, it didn't really affect us that much.
Well, yeah, it's just probably super unnerving.
It's a really weird thing to think about somebody bombing Nashville.
Yeah, I know, right? So, we have a little country music. You brought rock and roll there. It's just, it's a great place from what I hear. I've never been. I'd love to come down. I was actually planning on coming down, but then the pandemic hit.
Yeah, honestly, man, I feel like I haven't been to Nashville in about a year now.
Right, right. It's just gone by. I thought, actually, one of my girlfriends was like, Frankie, you should want to hang out for the pandemic, and I thought it was going to be a long weekend. I kid you not. Months and months later, it's still happening. It's like, what are people doing? Did they figure out why, or have you heard anything? No.
The guy, the local, he lived here. I think he was just a conspiracy theorist of some sort, a little paranoid.
Right. Tell me about it. I know you did, again, was a lot of this stuff, from what I gather, like you did the first 5 Kiss cruises. How many Kiss cruises have you done?
Let's see, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was not on 6. It was on 7 and 8. I've done 7 Kiss cruises. I've missed 2, and the latest one hasn't happened, so I don't count that one.
And what is that workload like? Is that much like a Masquerade weekend? You're doing that for a week. Is it pretty busy?
No, so you're on a cruise for 5 days. Depending on which cruise you do, the Kiss cruise was 3 shows. So you do 3 shows in 5 days. And honestly, like, when you're on the cruise, you want to play. You kind of start getting bored if you don't have anything to do.
Right. You're not a big shuffleboard guy.
Workload, it is not a workload at all. It's a lot of fun. You hang around with your friends all day and you drink beer and you play rock and roll and hang out at events and eat food and go to the beach, and it's a great way to make a living.
I'll collect cans and do that as well. Now, Monsters of Rock, is that much different? And how many?
So much different. It's completely different. There's like 4 or 5 times the amount of bands, which means there's that many more people. I'm trying to remember how many shows I do on them. You only do 2 shows on Monsters of Rock, so the workload actually is a lot lighter on that one. Although this is not all the other bands, just me and Philip and Ryan would do a traveling minstrels thing, and we would walk around the entire ship with acoustic guitars and sing random songs, anything from Bad Company to Van Halen.
No, that seems like a blast, actually.
Yeah, Philip and I did it a couple times by ourselves, and we'd walk around doing Beatles and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's just so much fun. It is really good stuff. And as far as with Kiss, because I was going to go in October, of course it got canceled. Where some of the fun places that you've been able to travel to on both?
Cozumel, that's a stop that we all love because we have a place that we go there. Let's see, where else we go? The private islands are great because they're all kind of rocky islands, but they bring in sand, so the sand is really fine. It's like powder. So all the cruise private islands are pretty cool. Let's see, where else have we been? There's one stop in Jamaica. I remember we went to the beach, and I can't remember which one that was. And honestly, like, all those Caribbean islands aren't that much different from each other, especially like around the ship ports. You kind of have to take excursions and go farther in the island if you really want to get a flavor of that particular island.
My friends bring me on vacation because I reflect sunlight, so they just move me around the pool. I'm EU and US with my 2 passports, which brings me to the Carlino Guitar chat session. We have a question here from a Ryan in Nashville. Which location causes you the most stress when leaving your meds or passport bag behind? Is it the beach, the airport, or your house?
I'm going to go with the beach, because if it's at the airport, it's going to be easier to find. And if I'm at the beach, it's going to be buried under sand.
I know, that's the thing. It's like, I always put my money in my Nashville sneaker. And then it's like, well, they knew where my money was because that's where everybody puts their stuff. So it's
I would say the person asking that question has been present with me in every single one of those situations.
Yeah, Ryan Anonymous from Nashville. Thanks a lot, pal.
Yeah.
With Ace and his Volume 2, what was that like? And you were on She, correct? Or did you do other songs as well?
I played the solos on Good Times, Bad Times also. What was it like? I still kind of can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what an incredible thing. I'm honored, flattered. Yeah, I don't really know what to say. It's
right, and then
so unbelievable.
Yeah, and he's one of my heroes as well. What was it like on tour with him? Did Gene, I know that you guys were all day long, but as far as Ace, I've seen some of his interviews. He seems like a really fun, out there kind of guy.
Yeah, man, he is.
What you see is what you get. Any funny stories?
The only stories I really have are from like Australia and Japan, because most of our stuff here, he travels with his guy and we travel with the crew. So I kind of only see him on stage, and maybe after the show, we'll yak about the show for a second. Who knows? Well, one of the other guys might have told you the story already. I know it's been out in some interviews. The funniest Ace story I can think of was after we were wrapping up our 3 nights in Tokyo and we were playing Osaka the next night. And we were also using Christopher Williams on drums, who plays drums in Accept. And they were going to be touring Europe or somewhere later that year, or when the cruise was going to happen. Anyway, Ace asked us to do the cruise. And Christopher told him, like, well, I'm not going to be able to do the cruise because I'm going to be out with Accept. And that was that. So we're leaving, and Ace is like, all right, well, I'll see you guys on the cruise. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. We're playing Osaka tomorrow night. Like, I'm going to see you tomorrow. And already like, I'm not going to be able to go on the cruise. We already talked about that. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Did he show up at the show, I hope?
Oh, yeah. He was there.
Yeah.
Because he's got his guy.
No, absolutely. Well, that's the thing. Ryan told me that he got lost, I think, in New York City, driving around.
It was in Homer, New York. It was upstate New York.
Okay.
And that town was really small. Luckily, the town is one of those deals where you put in the street and it took them to the neighboring town. Luckily, the towns are only like 2 miles apart, so it wasn't that far. But yeah, I was kind of sitting around like, man, where's Ace?
Right.
Man, it's been 45 minutes.
Where are the green M&Ms? That's what I want to know. With as far as the album, doing the few songs, was that another virtual experience with Ace? Because I know it came out recently. So
sort of. We did it in January before the pandemic happened. So Ace did his part. They sent it to us. We did our parts here in a studio and then sent it back. And I mean, so yeah, it was kind of virtual, but it wasn't completely remote. Like, we at least went to a studio and cut all of our parts together.
Yeah, and we'll be playing as a group hopefully soon.
However, the Good Times, Bad Times solo that I did do that here at my house and just sent it in.
Yeah, I wonder, the other thing is, too, a lot of people, friends that work in HR in various companies, and they're thinking companies may not come back and people may work virtually, but I would think that musicians would rather be together, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Always. I mean, it's fun to do stuff by yourself too. I mean, it's not like it's not fun, but it's always more fun to be with your friends or whoever you're working with.
No, and another thing is, too, speaking of creativity and circumstances, the Rock and Roll Residency, you're a co-founder, playing with the likes of Don Airey, Alice Cooper, and the list goes on and on. Mr. Slaughter, what has that been like for you?
One more of those moments that I kind of can't believe. I don't know, it was just a happy accident, man. Just something to burn up a month, have some fun, make a couple $100
Right.
if we're lucky. And I did not foresee all of that. And man, we had a lot of fun.
I guess that's the key, is having a lot of fun. Well, we have another chat question for you, and this is coming in from Philip from Smyrna. Where did you get the nickname Chick's a Dude? And I guess
this is actually a good story. No, this is a really good story.
Talk to me.
So I went to see Leonard Skinner and Ted Nugent in 1994 or 95. I think 94. I went with this girl and was kind of hanging around, and these two redneck dudes came up. Neither one of them wearing shirts. I mean, they were straight out of an episode of Beavis and Butthead. And he kind of started talking to me, and I said something back. And then he looked at his friend and kind of just like slapped him on the shoulder. He's like, man, Chick's a dude.
I mean, Lord have mercy on all of us.
And I loved it. That was a riot. And I kept that name in my back pocket for always.
No, it's a lot of the stuff when you think about musicians, and I'm thinking about getting bangs. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it looks very 70s-ish.
Well, honestly, man, that's the way I've worn my hair for pretty much all of my adult life. And only now I have really long hair because I haven't had a haircut in 2.5 years.
Right. Have you done the bangs before?
I always have bangs. I've had bangs for, like I said, pretty much most of my adult
Oh,
life.
wow. Okay. And is that tough to take care of? I
Yeah.
talked to a hairstylist about it, and they're like, Frankie, are you sure? Because it's kind of like, I want to try it.
I don't know. I have really straight hair, so it's not really that hard for me. Now I don't really have to leave the house, so
I know exactly.
and my hair's long enough to put in a ponytail, so I just wear in a ponytail all day.
It's like, am I still in the same sweats from 7 weeks ago? I'm not sure. I mean, I try to keep it going.
You know, when we get to reemerge permanently, I might clean up again.
Yeah, and that's a maybe. It's just been, it's nice to be able to be yourself. It's been a lot of self-reflection, whether you like it or not. I'm sure you have beautiful children, you're distracted and doing your thing, like virtual school. As far as a part of the business, what would you tell younger musicians? Because I have friends that have been on YouTube and have all these followers and likes, and it doesn't seem to translate into a lot of money, even on Spotify.
Yeah, I would tell them to stay realistic about the money aspect. I mean, honestly, I don't know how to tell anybody in the music business how to make money, because even the things that used to exist, because before you say, well, you want to be the songwriter, because when you have writer publishing, that's where all the money is. Like, none of that shit's out there. So that I don't know, but success is not only measured in money. I'm not rich, but I consider myself pretty successful. I've done some things that I'm really proud of. I've worked with a lot of my heroes. I've gotten a lot of respect and kudos from those same people. So, that's success.
Absolutely. And it's how individuals measure things. What's
Yes,
important to you, really?
and to achieve that, you just have to keep your eye on the ball, and if it's music, then you just play as much as possible, and don't say no to opportunities, and and look, man, I'm going to give Philip a lot of credit here, because I was in the Shazam and had that band gang mentality, and he was the one kind of out taking opportunities and whatever, even if it wasn't music that he liked. And over time, I realized that's a good idea, man. That's a good way to work. It's worked for all of us, and it's an attitude. So just stay positive and play as much as you can, and you can take music out of that, and whatever you're trying to do, you just have to apply yourself, and even in those moments of doubt and pain, man, you got to keep moving.
Well, I think a lot of the relationships that you've been able to build personally with the rock and roll residency, you've been able to build relationships, and I'm sure with Phil going with Accept, or you get different phone calls.
Sure.
You've made those relationships. I think was Ryan with some other bands in Europe. I'm not sure.
He did Europe with Skid Row.
Yeah, Skid Row.
Not last year, but the year prior to that, 2019.
Right. So.
Yeah, man, he's been a sub with them off and on for a really long time now. If one guitar player has some sort of issue that they can't make a show, instead of cancel the show, they call Ryan.
Right. Y'all are so talented. So in other words, it's whether it's Spotify or the views that you get, you're just doing your best. You're going out there. Some bands are able to charge meet and greets, say $600 to $3,000. Taylor Swift does it for free. It's all personal choice, correct?
Yes. And, I don't really have a negative opinion on it, because, you can still somehow meet these people, I guess. I mean, if you want to pay it, then it makes you happy, then I don't see the problem.
No, none at all, really. You just
like if I were in that position, and it's just kind of the thing to do, I'd probably do it. But then if somebody stopped me at the hotel, or I don't know, just somewhere like they do now, and I'm not even famous, I'd still give that person a minute. It's not like if you charge their meet and greet, it's like I can never talk to anybody.
I wrote a song, Famous in My Own Mind, and that's been carrying me along. So I think that's what matters. Also, I just wanted to touch on, I saw Little Blue Heart live with the Tummies. That looked like a lot of fun as well.
It is, man, and that music is a lot of fun to play, because it doesn't really require a lot out of you musically, except just to have fun. And, you know, all of us are really, really, really big 60s fans, mid 60s. So yeah, it's a fun project to be involved with. And Judd and Dana write all the songs. So Phil and I just have to show up and play cool seventh and ninth chords.
Nice. That's my next lesson. One last question. Have you ever brought a pet on tour, or do they do that much?
A pet?
Yes, like your dog or cat.
Honestly, dude, I haven't had a pet since I was a teenager. Now, let's see. I brought my kid on the road, sort of. I brought my son on a couple cruises.
Nice.
No, not so much.
Okay. Again, if parents had teenagers to begin with, forget about it. That's why it's I think Phil would like you to buy a dog. I'm not so sure, you know, so maybe you can grab some merch.
I would like to buy a dog. I just I need to fence in this extremely large backyard that you saw in other videos.
In other videos called your backyard. But it's really a pleasure to have you on Melted.
Thanks, man. It's good to finally chat.
I know, exactly.
Didn't we plan this like a year ago? And
we did, and things get in the way. You know, we did, and that's why I also had Phil ready to go, and he's running off to Mexico, having a good time, and then came back and they shut it down. But you know, we just wish you continued success, health, your wife's album as well, and just if you get a chance and adopt me, I'll just be a quiet teenager, I promise.
All right. Well, you're gonna have to babysit.
That's it. So you guys can go have some fun. Jeremy, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Frankie.
Thank
you very much.
Bye-bye.
See you.
And that was Jeremy Asbrock, fame of himself. He's a great guy with the Talisman, in Minefield, Gene Simmons Band, Ace Frehley Band, the Tummies, and I learned a lot about the industry through him and the other interviews about being on tour and his Kiss Masquerade. You know, played a lot of shows and how we're trying to stay safe in the midst of it all, what it's really like. And he's had a lot of success, and we just continue to wish him good stuff. Melted is brought to you by Eddie Carlino, Carlino Guitars. Really grateful for the fact of learning about musicians' lives, what they're up to, what tours like, understanding life in music. And I think the message was to stay positive and look at, you know, what you're doing and surrounding yourself with good people. And that if you're having a tough time, there's about millions of people that are having the same exact experience as you are. And that if you run into trouble and different things happen in your life, you'd be shocked at how many people are really in your corner, even when you feel alone. So I'm really blessed to have beautiful people. Thank God for punk music, so I'm allowed to play it and have some fun as well. I want to thank Jeremy Asbrock for being on Melted, Carlino Guitars. Whole lot of fun, whole lot of love. We're just going to keep rocking and rolling, and maybe rocking and cajoling. Just good stuff, and we thank you for another episode of Melted, Wednesday night, Boston Free Radio. If you get a chance, look up the Kiss Masquerade, look up the Talisman, look up Minefield. Check out Jeremy and all his good work, and his bandmates, Phil Schaus, Ryan Cook. We have a Super Bowl to attend to next week, so we will, in 2 weeks, we'll have some fun. So thank you for listening, and have a great day.
This podcast was produced in collaboration with the Boston Free Radio Podcast Network, part of bostonfreeradio.com and Somerville Media Center, Somerville's longest-running public access media center that enables a vibrant and diverse community to express its creativity, explain its ideas, share its cultures, and foster the individual right to freedom of speech. Learn more about Somerville Media Center at somervillemedia.org, or check out some of the other amazing Boston Free Radio podcasts and radio shows at bostonfreeradio.com. Thanks for listening.